In the shadowed halls of Beaumont Manor, nestled amid the misty moors of 1930s Devonshire, a chilling scream pierced the midnight air. Lord Aristide Beaumont, the reclusive collector of arcane antiquities, lay sprawled in his locked study, his face contorted in eternal agony beneath a grotesque scarlet mask, an ancient relic, whispered to carry a deadly curse from the tombs of Egypt. No weapon in sight, no sign of forced entry. Only the mask's crimson visage, its eyes hollow voids of accusation. As the household stirred in terror, one question hung like fog. Was this the work of spectral vengeance, or a mortal hand cloaked in superstition? Enter Hercule Poirot, the little Belgian detective with the formidable gray cells, summoned to pierce the veil of mystery. Chapter 1. The Summoning Fog. The train rattled through the fog-draped English countryside, its whistle a mournful cry against the gray dawn of 1933. Hercule Poirot, ensconced in a first-class carriage, adjusted his impeccable mustache and reread the telegram from Inspector Japp. Beaumont Manor. Cursed death. Need your gray cells, Japp. Poirot's lips curled faintly. The English, he murmured, with their penchant for curses and ghosts. Mais non, it is always the human heart that betrays. The station at Dartmoor was a desolate platform, where mist clung like a jealous lover. A chauffeur, dour and silent, drove Poirot through winding lanes to Beaumont Manor, its Gothic spires piercing the fog like skeletal fingers. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and impending rain, and Poirot's polished shoes sank slightly into the gravel drive. At the manor's oaken doors, Inspector Japp awaited, his face etched with the strain of a sleepless night. "Poirot, old chap, you're a sight for sore eyes," Japp said, shaking his hand vigorously. "This is a queer one. Lord Aristide Beaumont, found dead last night in his study, door bolted from the inside, windows locked, and wearing this blasted scarlet mask. Dr. Blackwood says heart failure, likely. Yet that scream, blood-curdling, Poirot, woke the whole house." Poirot's gaze swept the room, noting a faint scent of jasmine amidst the musty air, an anomaly in this masculine domain. He knelt by the chalk outline, his fingers tracing the floorboards. "Tell me of the household, Inspector." Japp produced a notebook. "Right. There's Evelyn Beaumont, the widow, elegant, bit cold, stands to inherit a fortune. Reginald Hargrove, Beaumont's business rival, staying as a guest. They had a falling out over some antiquities deal. Lydia Vos, the maid, been with the family for years, but there's talk of a murky past. And Dr. Theodore Blackwood, family physician, who pronounced the death. All were in the house last night." Poirot nodded, his mind cataloging motives. "And their alibis?" "Shaky at best," Japp admitted. "Evelyn says she was in her room reading. Hargrove claims a late walk in the gardens, alone, mind you. Voss was cleaning downstairs, or so she says. Blackwood was in his quarters writing letters. No one saw anyone else at midnight." Poirot paced, his polished shoes clicking on the parquet. The mask drew his eye again, its hollow sockets unsettling even to his rational mind. He lifted it gingerly, noting its weight, the intricate carvings, the faint residue of powder on its inner lining. "This mask," he mused. "It is a symbol, perhaps. But of what? Greed? Vengeance?" Japp shivered. Beaumont bought it last month in Cairo from some dodgy dealer. Locals warned him, said it brought death. He laughed it off, called it his prize. Foolish, Poirot said softly. But not foolish enough to die of a myth, no. There is method here. He questioned the household briefly in the drawing room, observing their demeanor. Evelyn, draped in black silk, clutched a handkerchief, her eyes darting nervously. Aristide was obsessed soon. Written in elegant looping script, it was unsigned. Poirot's fingers tightened on the paper. A game, he whispered. But who is the player? He retired to his bed, but sleep eluded him. The manor creaked and a distant howl, perhaps the wind, perhaps something more, echoed through the night. Poirot's gray cells churned, piecing together the jasmine scent, the locked door, the mask's eerie presence. Was this a supernatural riddle? Or a mortal's cunning masquerade? Chapter 2. Shadows of Inheritance. The drawing room of Beaumont Manor, with its heavy velvet drapes and flickering firelight, seemed to absorb the morning's feeble sunlight, casting a pall over the assembled household. Hercule Poirot, seated in a high-backed chair, sipped his tea with deliberate calm, his sharp eyes scanning the faces before him. The air was thick with tension, as if the very walls held secrets they dared not whisper. Evelyn Beaumont, clad in mourning black, clutched a porcelain cup, her fingers trembling slightly. Reginald Hargrove, his ruddy face flushed with irritation, sprawled in an armchair, one leg crossed defiantly over the other. Lydia Voss, the maid, stood near the door, her hands twisting her apron into knots. Dr. Theodore Blackwood, bespectacled and composed, leaned against the mantelpiece, his gaze steady but guarded. Inspector Japp, ever the faithful shadow, hovered near Poirot, his notebook at the ready. Monsieur et Mesdames, Poirot began, his voice a precise melody of French inflection. We are here to clarify the tragic events of last night. Lord Aristide Beaumont is dead, found in a locked study, wearing a mask said to carry an ancient curse. Yet I, Hercule Poirot, believe in no curses, only in the motives and actions of men and women. Let us begin with the facts. Evelyn's cup clattered against its saucer. Aristide was obsessed with that dreadful mask, she said, her voice low but laced with bitterness. He spent hours in his study, poring over it, muttering about its power. I bet it showed him visions. Terrible things. Her eyes flicked to the floor, avoiding Poirot's piercing gaze. Was it fear, he wondered, or the weight of a secret? Dr. Blackwood adjusted his spectacles, his tone measured, almost clinical. Medically speaking, it's quite straightforward. Aristide had a weak heart, known to me for years. He suffered from insomnia and anxiety, exacerbated no doubt by this obsession with the mask. I prescribed sedatives, nothing more. The curse talk likely pushed him into a fatal panic. His hands, Poirot noticed, were steady, but a faint sheen of sweat glistened on his brow. Poirot leaned forward, his mustache twitching slightly. Madame Beaumont, let us speak of the will. To whom did your husband leave his estate? Evelyn's cheeks flushed, and she set her cup down with a clink. To me, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Everything. Save his mask collection, which goes to the British Museum. He was particular about that. Her eyes met Poirot's, then slid away, as if the weight of inheritance carried its own shadow. A tidy sum, no doubt, Hargrove interjected, his tone sharp. Enough to make anyone reconsider their loyalties. Evelyn's head snapped up. "How dare you imply—" "Enough!" Poirot's voice cut through, soft but commanding. "Monsieur Hargrove, you speak of debts. Did you confront Lord Beaumont?" Hargrove shifted, his bravado faltering. "We argued, yes, the night before he died. He accused me of sabotaging our deals, trying to ruin him. I told him to pay up or face ruin himself. But I was in my room when it happened. Ask anyone." "And yet," Poirot said, "your boots bear fresh mud. From a late walk, perhaps?" Hargrove's face reddened further. "I took air in the gardens. Couldn't sleep." Poirot turned to Voss. "Mademoiselle, you were cleaning downstairs at midnight?" She nodded, her fingers tightening on her apron.
"Aye. Toward Voss, perhaps." Voss gasped, her hands flying to her face. "That's not true. I was loyal to the master, always." Evelyn's lips tightened. "Aristide was weak. He doted on Lydia, treated her like a daughter, or more. I saw the way he looked at her." Poirot's gray cells hummed. A love triangle? Jealousy as motive? He pressed further. "Mademoiselle Voss, you heard the master speak to the mask. Did he confide in you?" She hesitated, then whispered. "He said it showed him his enemies. People in this house. He was afraid, but wouldn't say who." The room fell silent, the crackle of the fire the only sound. Poirot's gaze swept over them, cataloging every twitch, every glance. Hargrove's muddy boots suggested more than a stroll. Voss's trembling hinted at hidden truths. Evelyn's inheritance raised questions of greed. Blackwood's calm masked what? As the morning wore on, Poirot requested access to Beaumont's papers. In the study, he found a ledger detailing the antiquities venture with Hargrove, pages torn out, suggesting missing transactions. A letter from a Cairo dealer warned of the mask's tainted history, urging caution. Poirot's fingers traced the words, his mind racing. Was the mask a fraud, a lure, or truly cursed? He questioned each suspect privately. Evelyn admitted financial strain. The estate was mortgaged, and Beaumont's collection was her salvation. Hargrove confessed a past scandal Beaumont held over him. A blackmail angle? Voss revealed a childhood debt to Beaumont, a loyalty that bordered on obsession. Blackwood, pressed on the quarrel, admitted Beaumont owed him thousands, but claimed it was professional courtesy to delay billing. By afternoon, Poirot wandered the manor's grounds, the fog curling around ancient yews. He found traces of mud near the study window, matching Hargrove's boots, but also smaller prints. Voss's? The window was locked, but a faint scratch on the frame suggested tampering.
"Open." Poirot's eyes narrowed.
"The game accelerates, mon ami. Someone fears exposure."
As thunder rumbled, a shadow flitted across the lawn, a figure in red, fleeting as a specter. The curse, it seemed, was tightening its grip. Or was it a mortal hand, cloaked in myth, pulling the strings? Chapter 3. Whispers in the Library. The library of Beaumont Manor was a sanctuary of shadows, its towering shelves laden with leather-bound tomes and relics of forgotten ages. Hercule Poirot, bathed in the dim glow of a single lamp, sat at a carved oak desk, poring over Lord Aristide Beaumont's journals. The air was thick with the scent of old paper and wax, undercut by a faint trace of jasmine that lingered like an unwelcome guest. Outside, the Devonshire fog pressed against the leaded windows, muffling the world beyond. Poirot's fingers, meticulous as ever, turned brittle pages, his gray cells humming with the rhythm of discovery. The Scarlet Mask, now locked in a glass case across the room, seemed to watch him, its hollow eyes glinting with silent accusation. The journals, penned in Beaumont's spidery hand, chronicled his obsession with the mask. Acquired in Cairo, March 1933, one entry read. From a dealer of questionable repute, but the legend is undeniable. Forged for a pharaoh's executioner, imbued with the power to curse its wearer with madness and death. Its power is immense, but at what cost? Another page detailed nightmares. Visions of betrayal, faces in this house, watching, plotting. Poirot's mustache twitched. Mon Dieu, he murmured. The mind plays tricks, but the heart reveals truths. Inspector Japp entered, his pipe puffing clouds that mingled with the dust motes. "Morning, Poirot," he said, his voice weary. "Got the autopsy report. No poison per se, but traces of an alkaloid in Beaumont's system. Possibly natural from some plant. Could be heart failure, as Blackwood said, but it's odd." Poirot's eyes flames. Poirot observed them all, noting the subtle tells. Evelyn's clenched jaw, Hargrove's restless fingers, Voss's averted gaze, Blackwood's too steady posture. "Madame Beaumont," Poirot began, his voice soft but probing. "Your husband's journals speak of visions, enemies within this house. Did he share such fears with you?" Evelyn's lips tightened. Aristide was secretive. But yes, he mentioned suspicions. He thought someone was undermining him, perhaps Reginald over their business dealings. Her glance at Hargrove was sharp, accusing. Hargrove bristled. "That's rich. Beaumont was the one cooking the books. He admitted it during our row the night before he died. Said he'd make it right, but I didn't trust him. I was in the gardens when he died, mind you, nowhere near that study." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "And yet, Monsieur Hargrove, your boots carried mud. A curious detail for a man indoors." Hargrove flushed. "I told you, I took a walk. The paths were damp." Poirot turned to Voss. "Mademoiselle, you spoke of hearing the master talk to the mask. Did you see anything unusual that night?" Voss's hands trembled. I saw him earlier, sir, in the study. He was holding the mask, staring into it. He looked frightened. I cleaned the room that morning, but I swear I wasn't there at midnight." Her voice cracked, and Poirot noted the fear in her eyes, genuine or artfully performed. Dr. Blackwood cleared his throat. "As I've said, Aristide's health was fragile. I prescribed sedatives for his insomnia, but nothing that could cause this. His anxiety over the mask likely triggered a cardiac event." Poirot's gaze lingered on Blackwood. "And yet, Doctor, an alkaloid was found. Curious numb. Your medical bag. May I inspect it?" Blackwood hesitated, then nodded. "Of course. You'll find nothing untoward." Japp's later entry caught his eye. "Hargrove presses for payment. He knows too much. My past indiscretions. Must protect Evelyn." Another mentioned Blackwood. "His fees are exorbitant, yet he knows my condition. Can I trust him? And of Voss. Lydia is loyal, but her eyes hold secrets. Was I wrong to confide? Poirot leaned back, his fingers steepled. The master suspected all, yet trusted none. A dangerous position. Japp puffed his pipe. You think one of them slipped him something. But how with the door locked? Patience, mon ami, Poirot said. The locked room is but a puzzle. The heart of this lies in motive and opportunity. As noon approached, Poirot questioned each suspect privately. Evelyn admitted to rumors of Beaumont's infidelity, her voice bitter. He was too fond of Lydia. She was no mere maid to him, more like a confidant. It wounded me. Jealousy, Poirot noted, was a potent motive. Hargrove, when pressed, confessed to the argument's details. Beaumont accused me of sabotaging our deals to ruin him. I told him he was the fraud, hiding profits. I stormed out, went to the gardens to cool off. His alibi remained unverified, his temper a liability. Blackwood, questioned about the vial, insisted it wasn't his. I prescribe in labeled bottles. Someone could have planted it. Yet, his calm demeanor faltered when Poirot mentioned the alkaloid. I deal in medicines, not poisons, he snapped. Voss, tearful, revealed a deeper bond. The master saved my family from ruin years ago. I owed him everything, but he changed after the mask arrived. He spoke of betrayal, of eyes watching him. By afternoon, Poirot wandered the manor's corridors, the fog outside thickening like a conspirator's cloak. In the study, he examined the mask's case, its glass unmarred, but its lock loose, easily opened. A faint hum, like a whisper. The mind, mon ami, sees what it fears, but the gray cells see only truth. Yet as he spoke, a chill crept up his spine. The mask's eyes seemed to follow him, and the library's whispers grew louder. Or was it the wind, conspiring with the night? Chapter 4. The Midnight Vigil. The study of Beaumont Manor, steeped in the gloom of midnight, was a stage set for revelation, or deception. Hercule Poirot, his silhouette sharp against the flickering candlelight, had orchestrated a vigil to recreate the fatal night of Lord Aristide Beaumont's death. The Scarlet Mask, its crimson visage gleaming with an almost sentient malice, rested on the mahogany desk, a silent sentinel at the heart of the mystery. The air was heavy with the must of old books and the faint, persistent trace of jasmine, an enigma that tugged at Poirot's meticulous mind. The household, Evelyn Beaumont, Reginald Hargrove, Lydia Voss, and Dr. Theodore Blackwood, gathered reluctantly, their faces etched with unease. Inspector Japp, stationed by the bolted door, gripped his notebook, his eyes darting as if expecting the curse itself to materialize. Monsieur et Mesdames, Poirot began, his voice a calm beacon in the tense silence. Tonight, we tempt fate. Lord Beaumont died here, in this locked room, wearing the Scarlet Mask. The legend claims it brings death to the greedy. I, Hercule Poirot, seek not curses but truth. We shall observe, and the guilty may betray themselves. His eyes, sharp as a falcon's, swept over the group, noting every gesture. Evelyn's fingers clutching a rosary, Hargrove's skeptical sneer, Voss's trembling shoulders, Blackwood's measured stillness. Evelyn, her morning dress absorbing the candlelight, spoke first, her voice brittle. Aristide was reckless. He planned to sell the mask despite its curse. He thought its legend would fetch a fortune at auction. Her eyes flickered to the mask, then away, as if fearing its gaze. Hargrove scoffed, his ruddy face flushed with irritation.
Only the mask. Yet I detect inconsistencies. He paused, letting the word hang like a guillotine. Madame Beaumont, you were reading in your room? Evelyn nodded, her rosary beads clicking. Yes, until the scream. I ran to the study, but the door was locked. Monsieur Hargrove, your walk in the gardens? Hargrove shifted. Like I said, I needed air. Was back in my room by 11. Heard the scream from there. Mademoiselle Voss? I was in the kitchen, cleaning, Voss whispered. I heard it and came running. And you, Docteur? Blackwood met Poirot's gaze. Writing letters in my quarters. The scream brought me here. Poirot's mustache twitched. All alone, all unwitnessed. Most convenient. He turned to the mask, lifting it carefully, noting again the faint powder on its inner lining. Arsenic, perhaps, as the Cairo telegram later suggested. This mask, he said, is said to punish greed. Let us see if it speaks tonight. He placed it back on the desk, its hollow eyes seeming to follow the group. The candles cast long shadows, dancing like specters on the walls. Poirot recounted the legend from Beaumont's journals. A pharaoh's executioner, his mask imbued with vengeance, dooming those who sought its power. Lord Beaumont sought wealth, Poirot said. Who else in this room shares such ambition? Tensions rose like a gathering storm. Hargrove pointed at Blackwood. You were his doctor. Easy enough to slip him something, poison maybe, to settle your unpaid bills. Blackwood's composure cracked. And you, Hargrove? You hounded him for money, threatened him. You had every reason to want him gone. Voss, her voice breaking, interjected. The master. He promised to marry me once, years ago, before Evelyn. But she... Evelyn's head snapped up. You dare. Aristide was mine, and you were nothing but a servant with delusions. Silence! Poirot's voice cut through, sharp as a blade. Accusations reveal much. Clutched her rosary, whispering prayers. Hargrove swore, his voice hoarse. Voss shrank back, her hands covering her face. Blackwood, pale, muttered, This is madness. Poirot examined the note, its ink fresh, its elegant loops familiar. Someone among us plays the ghost, he declared, his voice steady. This is no curse, but a performance. He checked the door, still bolted, and the windows locked tight. Yet the jasmine scent lingered, and a faint draft brushed his cheek, hinting at a hidden mechanism. Jap, flustered, whispered, How, Poirot? No one moved. Patience, mon ami, Poirot replied, his eyes scanning the room. He approached the bookcase, running his fingers along its edge, searching for a secret panel. Nothing. Yet the draft persisted, and the mask's position shifted slightly, suggested interference. As the group dispersed, shaken, Poirot lingered, his gray cells whirring. The scream. Whose voice? The note. Whose hand? He recalled the scarlet thread from the windowsill, the scratched frame, the alkaloid in Beaumont's system. Each clue pointed to a human agent, yet the mask's legend wove a psychological web, ensnaring even the rational. An hour later, a crash echoed from upstairs. Poirot and Jap raced to Hargrove's room, finding it ransacked, papers strewn,
a chair overturned, and a window ajar, letting in the damp night air. Missing was a ledger. One Hargrove claim detailed Beaumont's debts to him. "Someone's covering their tracks," Hargrove bellowed, his face purple with rage. Poirot examined the room, noting muddy footprints, Hargrove's boots, but also smaller ones, like those near the study window. "The thief," he mused, "or the killer, seeks to obscure the truth." Outside, the fog swallowed the lawn, but a fleeting glimpse of red, a cloak, vanished into the mist. Back in the study, Poirot sat, the mask before him, its eyes seeming to mock his logic. He traced the note's script, comparing it to Evelyn's diary, seen briefly in her Chapter 5. Threads of Deception. The dawn broke over Beaumont Manor, its feeble light struggling through the fog that clung to the Devonshire moors like a shroud. Hercule Poirot, his impeccable suit unrumpled despite the sleepless night, stood in the study, his sharp eyes fixed on the Scarlet Mask, which seemed to pulse with an eerie presence in its glass case. The events of the midnight vigil, the scream, the note, the ransacked room, had tightened the web of suspicion, and Poirot's gray cells hummed with the challenge of untangling it. The faint scent of jasmine lingered, a persistent clue that gnawed at his meticulous mind. Outside, the wind moaned, as if the manor itself whispered secrets it could no longer contain. Inspector Japp, bleary-eyed but resolute, joined him, clutching a fresh report from the local constabulary. "Morning, Poirot," Japp said, his voice rough from lack of sleep. "The lads have been combing the grounds. Found nothing new but that scream last night. Gave me goosebumps. You sure this isn't some ghostly business?" Poirot's mustache twitched with a faint smile. "Mon ami, the only ghosts here are those of guilt and deception. Let us examine the evidence with clear eyes." He held up the scarlet thread found on the study windowsill, its vibrant hue catching the light. This, Inspector, was thought to match Mademoiselle Voss's uniform. But observe, closer inspection reveals it is dyed wool, not cotton. A plant, perhaps, to mislead us. Japp frowned, rubbing his chin. "Planted? By whom? Voss swore she was cleaning elsewhere." "Précisément," Poirot said, pacing the parquet floor, his polished shoes clicking rhythmically. "Someone wishes us to suspect the maid, or to divert attention from themselves. We must question deeper." The household gathered in the drawing room, their faces a gallery of unease. Evelyn Beaumont, her morning dress pristine but her eyes red-rimmed, sat with rigid poise. Reginald Hargrove, his temper barely contained, "Antiquities deal. That ledger stolen last night, it proved his fraud. Whoever took it wanted that secret buried." His fists clenched, and Poirot observed the fresh mud on his boots, despite his claim of staying indoors since the vigil. Voss, her voice barely audible, spoke up. I didn't take it, sir, I swear. I only cleaned the study that morning." Her eyes darted to Blackwood, then away, a gesture Poirot catalogued. Blackwood adjusted his cufflinks, his tone measured. "Aristide's heart condition was severe. I warned him, stress could be fatal. This curse nonsense likely pushed him over the edge. No poison needed." Yet his hands, Poirot noticed, betrayed a slight tremor when the vial from the study was mentioned. Poirot's gaze sharpened. "Doctor, you prescribed sedatives, yet an alkaloid was found in the master's system. And this vial, empty, label removed, suggests more than medicine." Blackwood's composure faltered. I told you it's not mine. Someone could have planted it to frame me. Poirot turned to the clues piling up like pieces of a shattered mosaic. The scarlet thread, now identified as Attic wool, suggested a deliberate misdirection. He had inspected Voss's uniform. No tears, no missing threads. Someone, he said to Jap, wished to cast suspicion on the maid. But why? In the study, Poirot discovered a hidden safe behind a portrait of Beaumont's ancestor, its lock recently forced. Inside were letters from a Cairo dealer, revealing a startling truth. The Scarlet Mask was a forgery, valueless except as a curiosity. Beaumont knew, the dealer wrote, yet paraded it as a treasure. Beware his enemies. Poirot's gray cell's word. Had Beaumont flaunted the mask to provoke someone? Hargrove, perhaps, who gifted it? Questioning resumed. Hargrove admitted presenting the mask to Beaumont. A gesture to settle our debts, he growled. I didn't know it was a fake until he bragged about its curse to inflate its value. A motive for murder, betrayal in business. Voss, tearful, confessed to Prince led directly to the study window. Blackwood, when confronted, paled. I walked the grounds, yes, but not to the study. You're mistaken. His denial rang hollow, and Poirot filed it away. Back in the manor, Poirot examined the ledger's theft. The missing pages, Hargrove claimed, detailed Beaumont's fraud. Proof of motive for Hargrove, but also for whoever stole it. Evelyn's inheritance, Voss's loyalty, Blackwood's debts, all swirled in Poirot's mind like leaves in a storm. As evening fell, he returned to the study, drawn to the mask's case. The jasmine scent was stronger, mingled now with a trace of Blackwood's cologne, sandalwood, sharp and distinctive. An affair between Voss and Blackwood, perhaps, complicating their motives? Poirot's fingers traced the case's lock, loose as before, and he noticed a faint scratch on the glass, as if someone had tampered with it. A new clue emerged. A gardener reported seeing a figure in red near the manor at dusk, fleeing toward the moors. Like a ghost, the man whispered, crossing himself. Poirot dismissed the superstition, but noted the detail. A cloak, perhaps, to fuel the curse's myth? In his room, Poirot found another note. The mask sees the guilty. The same elegant script, the same jasmine scent. He compared it to Evelyn's diary, seen during a discreet glance in her room. The loops matched, but was it too obvious? A frame, or a careless mistake? The manor creaked under the weight of its secrets, and Poirot sat by his candle, sketching a mental map of motives. Evelyn's financial desperation, Hargrove's cheated wealth, Voss's betrayed loyalty, Blackwood's hidden debts. The alkaloid, the thread, the footprints, all pointed to a calculated plot. Yet the mask's legend cast a psychological shadow, blurring logic with fear. As rain lashed the windows, a creak sounded from the corridor, a loose panel perhaps, or something more. Poirot rose, his heart quickening despite his rational mind. He opened his door, peering into the mask, locked in its glass case, seemed to watch him, its hollow eyes glinting in the lantern's flicker. The faint scent of jasmine, now mingled with a trace of sandalwood cologne, clung to the air, a persistent clue that tugged at his meticulous mind. Inspector Japp, his face etched with unease, hovered at Poirot's side, clutching a torch that cast jittery shadows on the book-lined walls. Mon Dieu, Inspector, Poirot said, his voice a calm anchor in the oppressive silence. This passage is the key. No locked room, no curse, only a mortal's cunning. Let us descend and see what secrets it hides. Jap swallowed hard. Gives me the creeps, Poirot. You sure about this? Certain, Poirot replied, his polished shoes clicking as he stepped onto the narrow stair. The passage descended into the manor's cellar, its stone walls slick with damp and draped in cobwebs. The air grew heavy, thick with the must of forgotten years, and Poirot's lantern revealed footprints in the dust, small, feminine, with a delicate tread. Evelyn? Lydia? He mused aloud. Or another deception. At the cellar's base, the passage widened into a low chamber, cluttered with crates and relics, remnants of Beaumont's obsession with antiquities. A single footprint, fresher than the others, led to a crate marked Cairo, 1933. Poirot pried it open, revealing shards of pottery and a scrap of paper. Mask is a fraud. Do not trust H. Hargrove? Poirot pocketed the note, his mind racing. This changes everything, Jap said, his torch sweeping the shadows. Someone could have slipped in, poisoned Beaumont and slipped out, door bolted or not. Précisément, Poirot agreed, climbing back to the study. But who? And how did they administer the alkaloid? Back in the study, Poirot summoned the household, their faces a gallery of suspicion under the candlelight. Evelyn Beaumont, her mourning dress stark against her pale skin, clutched her rosary. Her Beaumont's tea, his medicines, easy enough to slip him something. Poirot turned to Hargrove. And you, monsieur, what of the ledger stolen from your room? You admitted Beaumont blackmailed you over a past scandal. Did you use the passage to silence him? Hargrove's face purpled. I searched for that ledger, yes, through the passage. I knew of it from old plans Beaumont showed me. But I didn't kill him. He was alive when I left him. Voss, her voice breaking, interjected. I knew about the passage too. The master showed it to me years ago when I was a child here. But I never used it, not that night. Her eyes flicked to Blackwood, then away. A gesture Poirot catalogued. Evelyn, her voice brittle, spoke up. Aristide mentioned the passage once, in passing. He used it to store relics. But I was in my room, I swear. Her fingers twisted the rosary, and Poirot noted the faint jasmine scent on her. Voss's perfume? Or her own? Poirot paced, his mind weaving clues. The nightshade, the footprints, the stolen ledger, the forged mask. The killer used the passage, he said. But the poison, how was it delivered? He examined Beaumont's teacup, left on the desk from that fatal night, its rim bearing traces of a bitter residue. Mademoiselle Voss, you served the master's tea? Voss nodded, tears welling. Yes, sir, but I only poured it from the pot. I added nothing. Poirot's eyes narrowed. And who prepared the pot? Silence fell. Blackwood cleared his throat. The kitchen staff, I presume. I had no hand in it. Yet Poirot recalled the cologne. Sandalwood, Blackwood's scent, mingled with jasmine in the study. Docteur, you and Mademoiselle Voss. You are close, perhaps? Voss gasped, her face flushing. We planned to leave together, to elope. The master found out. He threatened to ruin Theodore, to expose his debts. Blackwood's jaw tightened. Aristide was a tyrant. Dispersed, shaken, as Poirot examined the passage's entrance again. The feminine footprints suggested Voss or Evelyn, but a third set, larger, like Blackwood's, emerged in the cellar dust. Doctor,
You claimed no knowledge of the passage, Poirot said, confronting Blackwood privately. I explored it once, out of curiosity, Blackwood stammered. But not that night, Poirot's mind raced. The nightshade, the wire, the footprints, all pointed to a calculated plot. He revisited the study, finding a hidden drawer in the desk, containing a letter from Beaumont to Blackwood. Your credentials are suspect. Pay your debts or I expose you. Blackmail, a motive for murder. As rain lashed the manor, Poirot wandered the grounds, the fog swallowing the world beyond. Near the study window he found more footprints, Blackwood's, leading to the passage's hidden exit. A stroll, he said, Poirot murmured to Jap. Yet his path betrays him. Back inside, a servant reported a sighting. A figure in red, seen at dusk near the passage's cellar entrance. Like a ghost, the servant whispered, crossing himself. Poirot dismissed the superstition but noted the cloak. A prop to fuel the curse's myth? In his room another note slid under the door. The mask claims its own. The elegant script, jasmine-scented, matched Evelyn's diary. Yet Poirot suspected a frame. He compared it to Voss's handwriting, similar but not identical. A conspiracy or a lone hand? The manor creaked, its shadows deepening. Poirot sat by his candle, sketching motives. Evelyn's inheritance, Hargrove's blackmail, Voss and Blackwood's affair, Blackwood's forged credentials. The passage had unlocked the room, but the poison, nightshade, arsenic, pointed to a killer with access and intent. As thunder rumbled, a sudden blackout plunged the manor into darkness. A cry echoed from the hall. Voss, screaming about a shadow in red. Poirot rushed out, lantern raised, but found only an empty corridor. The jasmine set. Poirot, this place is giving me the jitters, Jap said, his voice low. That scream, the blackout. Someone's playing us for fools. You sure it's not the curse? Poirot's mustache twitched with a faint smile. Mon ami, the only curse here is human greed and betrayal. Let us lift the veils. He gestured to the mask, where a faint wire, discovered in the previous night's vigil, ran to a hidden battery beneath the desk. This mechanism, Inspector, was rigged for shocks, to simulate a supernatural curse. But who set it, and why? Jap frowned. Shocks? Enough to kill a man? No, Poirot replied, his polished shoes clicking as he paced the parquet. Enough to terrify, to push a weak heart to its limit, especially if poison was already at work. He held up the vial of nightshade extract, found in Blackwood's medical bag, its bitter scent matching the residue in Beaumont's teacup. This, combined with the mask's arsenic lining, suggests a calculated murder. The household gathered in the drawing room, their faces pale under the storm's dim light. Evelyn Beaumont, her mourning dress stark against her trembling frame, clutched her rosary, her eyes darting nervously. Reginald Hargrove, his ruddy face flushed with defiance, sat with arms crossed, his muddy boots still a point of suspicion. Lydia Voss, near the door, twisted her apron, her gaze flickering with fear or guilt. Dr. Theodore Blackwood, his spectacles glinting, maintained his clinical calm, though his hands betrayed a slight tremor. Mes amis, Poirot began, his voice a blade of precision. The mask's curse is a fabrication, its shocks engineered to deceive. But the poison, nightshade and arsenic, points to a killer among us. Let us confront the truths you hide. He turned to Blackwood, holding up the wire. Doctor, you claimed no knowledge of this mechanism. Yet it was you who rigged it, no? Blackwood's composure cracked,
his voice rising. Yes, I confess, at Aristide's request. He wanted to
Own. Match your diary script. Did you write them to fuel the curse myth?
Evelyn paled, her rosary slipping. I wrote them, yes. To scare Aristide into changing his will. He was giving too much to the museum, leaving me nothing. But I didn't kill him. Hargrove scoffed. Convenient, Evelyn. You get the estate. I get nothing but threats. That ledger proved Beaumont's fraud. Someone stole it to hide their own guilt. Poirot's gaze swept the room, cataloging every tell. Evelyn's trembling hands, Hargrove's clenched fists, Voss's tear-streaked face, Blackwood's sweating brow. The ledger, he said, stolen from Monsieur Hargrove's room. The footprints, yours, Dr. Blackwood, near the passage and the study window. Blackwood's eyes widened. I told you I strolled for air. I didn't use the passage that night. Yet Poirot recalled the sandalwood cologne, mingling with Voss's jasmine in the study. An affair, he mused aloud, and a shared motive. Monsieur Beaumont threatened to expose you, Doctor, for forged credentials, no? Blackwood flinched. He suspected my degree. But I didn't kill him. Poirot paced, his mind weaving the clues. The nightshade, the wire, the footprints, the notes. He revisited the study, examining the teacup again. The residue was concentrated on one side, suggesting it was added after pouring. The kitchen pot was clean, he said to Jap. The poison was in the cup, administered by someone with access. He questioned the servants, who confirmed Voss poured the tea, but Blackwood lingered in the kitchen that evening, checking supplies. A gardener reported seeing Blackwood near the study window at dusk, contradicting his alibi. The pattern emerges, Poirot murmured. In the library, Poirot found a hidden journal entry. Blackwood's debts grow. He presses for payment, but I hold his secret. His degree is a lie. Beaumont's blackmail, a motive for murder. Another entry mentioned Voss, lid illuminating the manor's grim facade. Poirot wandered the grounds, finding more footprints, Blackwood's, leading to the passage's cellar exit. He lied, Poirot whispered. But is he alone? In his room, another note. The mask sees all. The jasmine scent, the elegant script, Evelyn's, or a frame. Poirot compared it to Voss's handwriting, finding subtle differences. A conspiracy, perhaps, between lovers? The manor creaked, shadows dancing in the candlelight. Poirot sat, sketching motives. Evelyn's inheritance, Hargrove's blackmail, Voss and Blackwood's affair, Blackwood's forged credentials. The nightshade, the arsenic, the passage, all pointed to a killer with access and intent. A sudden crash echoed from the hall, glass shattering. Poirot rushed out, finding a broken vase and a fleeting figure in red, vanishing into the fog. Voss, screaming again, claimed it was the curse. It moved, sir. The mask, it was on the floor. Poirot returned to the study, finding the mask undisturbed, but the case's lock was loose, as if opened recently. A performance, he murmured, to keep the myth alive. The killer was near, their betrayal veiled in shadows. But Poirot's gray cells were closing in. Chapter 8. The Poisoned Legacy. The storm over Beaumont Manor had settled into a restless drizzle, its patter against the leaded windows a somber underscore to the tightening web of suspicion. Hercule Poirot stood in the study,
the Scarlet Mask in its glass case casting a malevolent glow under the chandelier's dim light. The discovery of the secret passage, the nightshade in Beaumont's tea, and the rigged wire had stripped away the myth of the curse, revealing a mortal hand driven by greed and betrayal. The faint scent of jasmine, now intertwined with sandalwood cologne, lingered like a ghost, urging Poirot's gray cells to unravel the final threads of deception. Inspector Japp, his face drawn from the relentless investigation, joined him, clutching a telegram from Cairo that confirmed the mask's deadly secret. Its inner lining, the door, twisted her apron, her tear-streaked face betraying fear or guilt. Dr. Theodore Blackwood, his spectacles glinting, maintained his clinical calm, though his hands fidgeted with his cufflinks. "Mes amis," Poirot began, his voice a precise blade cutting through the tension. "The mask's curse is a lie, its arsenic a tool, its shocks a trick. Nightshade in the master's tea sealed his fate. Each of you had access and motive. Let us unravel this poisoned legacy." He held up the telegram. The mask's lining, laced with arsenic, was deadly only in time. But Nightshade, found in the teacup, acted swiftly. "Madame Beaumont, you prepared the tea?" Evelyn's rosary beads clicked. "No, I only drank my own. Lydia served Aristide's. She always did." Her voice carried a bitter edge, her eyes flicking to Voss. Poirot turned to Voss. "Mademoiselle, you poured the tea, yet claim it was clean. The nightshade suggests otherwise." Voss's face crumpled. "I swear, sir, I only poured from the kitchen pot. I added nothing." Her eyes darted to Blackwood, a silent plea. Blackwood cleared his throat. "The tea was prepared by the staff. I had no hand in it, though I checked the kitchen that evening for medical supplies." His voice was steady, but Poirot noted the sweat on his brow. Hargrove scoffed. "Convenient, doctor. You had access to poisons and Beaumont owed you thousands. Easy enough to slip something in." Poirot's gaze shifted to Hargrove. "And you, monsieur, your gloves bore arsenic traces. From handling the mask, you claim. Yet you gifted it to Beaumont, knowing it was a forgery." Hargrove's fists clenched. "I thought it genuine. The dealer in Cairo swore it was priceless. Beaumont's boasting about its curse. He was the fraud." Poirot paced, his mind weaving clues. The nightshade, the arsenic, the passage, the stolen ledger. The killer used the passage to enter, laced the tea with nightshade, and rigged the mask's shocks to induce panic. But who had the knowledge? His wandering eye for you, Lydia. Poirot turned to her. "Madame, your notes, death stalks the guilty, fueled the curse myth. Did you hope to scare him into securing your inheritance?" Evelyn's hands trembled. "Yes, I wrote them. I wanted him to change the will, to protect me from ruin. But I didn't poison him." Poirot revisited the study, examining the teacup again. The nightshade residue was concentrated, suggesting a deliberate dose. He recalled the kitchen staff's testimony. Blackwood lingered there, checking supplies the night of the murder. The passage's footprints, Blackwood's, alongside Voss's smaller tread, pointed to a coordinated effort. In the library, Poirot found a hidden letter in Beaumont's desk. "Blackwood's degree is a fraud. He pays or I expose him." Blackmail. A motive cemented. Another entry mentioned Voss. "Lydia loves another. I fear her loyalty wavers." He questioned the gardener, who confirmed seeing Blackwood near the passage's cellar exit at dusk, carrying a small vial. "Thought it odd," the gardener said, "him skulking about." Poirot set a trap. He placed the mask on the study desk, wiring it with a bell to alert him of tampering. "The killer will return," he told Jap, "to cover their tracks." He hid in the shadows, waiting. As midnight neared, footsteps echoed in the passage. The bell rang, sharp and clear. Poirot sprang forward, lantern raised, catching Blackwood, gloved hands on the mask. "Doctor!" Jap exclaimed, seizing him. Blackwood struggled, then sagged. I only meant to adjust the wire. I didn't poison him." Poirot's voice was cold. "Your lies unraveled, Doctor. The nightshade, the footprints, the blackmail. You had motive and means." Yet a new twist emerged. Evelyn, trembling, confessed. "I added a powder to his tea. Blackwood gave it to me. Said it was a sedative. I didn't know it was poison." Poirot's gray cells whirred. A conspiracy, perhaps. "Doctor."
Inheritance. Hargrove's blackmail. Voss's loyalty. Blackwood's secrets. The nightshade. The arsenic. The passage. All converged on a killer, but the trap had only caught part of the truth. As thunder rumbled, a cry echoed from the hall. Voss. Claiming the mask moved again. Poirot rushed out, finding her trembling, pointing to the study. "It was on the floor, sir, like it walked." He checked the case, locked, undisturbed. "A twick," he murmured. "To keep the curse alive." The killer was close, their betrayal a poisoned legacy. But Poirot's gray cells were closing the net. Chapter 9. The Final Confrontation. The storm's last echoes faded over Beaumont Manor, leaving a heavy silence that pressed against the Gothic walls like an unspoken accusation. Hercule Poirot stood in the study, the Scarlet Mask in its glass case casting a crimson glow under the flickering chandelier. The trap he had set, wiring the mask with a bell, had sprung, catching Dr. Theodore Blackwood in the act of tampering, his gloved hands betraying his intent. Yet the web of deception, woven with nightshade, arsenic, and hidden motives, demanded a final unraveling. The faint scent of jasmine, now laced with Blackwood's sandalwood cologne, hung in the air, a lingering clue that fueled Poirot's relentless gray cells. Inspector Jap, his face taut with anticipation, gripped Blackwood's arm, while the household, Evelyn Beaumont, Reginald Hargrove, and Lydia Voss, gathered in the drawing room, their eyes wide with dread and suspicion. "Mon Dieu, docteur," Poirot said, his voice a precise blade cutting through the tension. "You are caught, non? The bell rang, your hands on the mask, yet you claim innocence. Explain." His eyes, sharp as a hawk's, fixed on Blackwood, noting the sweat on his brow, the flicker of fear in his spectacles. Blackwood struggled briefly, then sagged in Jap's grip. I confess to adjusting the wire," he said, her mourning dress stark against her ashen skin. Hargrove, his ruddy face flushed with anger, clenched his fists. Voss, near the door, sobbed quietly, her apron twisted in her hands. "Mes amis," Poirot said, "the truth lies among you. Let us confront it." He faced Evelyn. "Madame, you confessed to adding a powder to your husband's tea, believing it a sedative from Dr. Blackwood. Yet it was nightshade. Were you complicit?" Evelyn's rosary slipped to the floor. I didn't know. Theodore gave me the powder, said it would calm Aristide's nerves. I wanted him to rest, to change the will, not to die." Her voice broke, tears streaming, and Poirot noted the sincerity. Or was it performance? Voss cried out, "Theodore, how could you? You said we'd be free, but not like this." Blackwood's jaw tightened. "Lydia, I told you I didn't poison him. Someone framed me." Poirot's gaze shifted to Hargrove. "Monsieur, your gloves bore arsenic. Your footprints led to the passage. You gifted the mask, knowing it was a forgery. Did you seek revenge for Beaumont's fraud?" Hargrove roared. "I wanted my money, not his life. That ledger proved he cheated me. Someone stole it to hide their own guilt." Poirot paced, his mind weaving the clues. The nightshade in the tea, the arsenic in the mask, the passage's footprints, the stolen ledger, the threatening notes. He recalled the Cairo telegram. The mask's lining laced with arsenic was deadly only in time, but Nightshade acted swiftly, targeting Beaumont's weak heart. The wire's shocks, amplified beyond a prank, suggested intent to terrify and kill. "Dr. Blackwood," Poirot said, his voice cold, "your prescription book shows nightshade doses, far beyond medicinal use. Your footprints in the passage, your cologne mixed with Mademoiselle Voss's jasmine, these betray you. And the letter in Beaumont's desk. Your degree is a fraud. Pay, or I expose you." Passage's footprints, Blackwood's larger tread alongside Voss's, hinted at coordination. But Voss's tears seemed genuine. He confronted Blackwood privately. "Doctor, you manipulated Madame Beaumont, giving her nightshade disguised as a sedative. You used the passage, laced the tea, and amplified the mask's shocks to induce panic. All to silence Beaumont's blackmail." Blackwood sneered, his calm shattering. "Aristide deserved it. Greedy fool, hoarding wealth, threatening my life. But I didn't act alone." Poirot's eyes widened. "Alone? Who else, Doctor?" Before Blackwood could answer, Evelyn burst in, her face ashen. "It was me. I added the powder. But I thought it was harmless. Theodore tricked me." Poirot's mind raced. A conspiracy? Blackwood and Evelyn? Or Blackwood using Evelyn's desperation? He recalled the notes, their elegant script matching Evelyn's diary, but the jasmine scent tied to Voss. A frame, perhaps, to confuse? He examined Blackwood's prescription book, finding entries for nightshade dated before Beaumont's death. The gardener's testimony, Blackwood near the passage's cellar exit, holding a vial, sealed his guilt. The mask's case, its lock tampered, revealed a hidden compartment. A scrap of paper in Beaumont's hand. The doctor's hand is poison. Poirot set a second trap, placing a decoy note in the study. The truth is known. He waited, hidden, as footsteps approached. Blackwood again crept in, searching frantically. Jap pounced, handcuffs ready. "You're nicked, Blackwood." Blackwood lunged, but Jap restrained him. "You manipulated Evelyn, used Voss's loyalty, framed Hargrove with the ledger theft," Poirot said. "The passage was your path, the nightshade your weapon, the shocks your coup de grace." Evelyn collapsed, sobbing. "I didn't mean to kill him. I loved Aristide, despite everything." Hargrove cleared, muttered, "Bloody mess all." Hargrove, Lydia Voss, and the handcuffed Dr. Theodore Blackwood sat in tense silence, their eyes fixed on Poirot, whose gray cells had unraveled the mystery of Lord Aristide Beaumont's death. Inspector Japp, notebook in hand, stood by the door, his face a mix of relief and exhaustion. The air, once thick with jasmine and sandalwood, now carried only the faint must of the manor's age, as if the house itself exhaled its burdens. "Mes amis," Poirot began, his voice a melody of precision and authority. "The curse of the Scarlet Mask is no more than a tale, woven to conceal a murder most calculated. Lord Beaumont died not by supernatural vengeance, but by the hand of greed and betrayal. I, Hercule Poirot, have pieced together the threads. Let us reveal the truth." He paced, his polished shoes clicking on the parquet, each step a metronome to his deduction. The facts. Lord Beaumont was found dead in his locked study, wearing the Scarlet Mask. His heart failed under the strain of poison. Nightshade, enhanced by the mask's arsenic lining. A secret passage, a rigged wire for shocks, threatening notes, a stolen ledger, all pointed to a killer among us. But who? Evelyn, her mourning dress clinging to her trembling frame, clutched her rosary, her eyes red-rimmed. Hargrove, his ruddy face set in a scowl, leaned back, his muddy boots still a clue. Voss, near the door, twisted her apron, tears staining her cheeks. Blackwood, handcuffed, glared defiantly, his spectacles glinting under the chandelier's dim light. Poirot turned to Blackwood. "Docteur, you are the architect of this crime. Your motive, Lord Beaumont's blackmail over your forged medical credentials. He owed you thousands for treatments, yet threatened to expose you, ruining your career and your plans to elope with Mademoiselle Voss. You acted with cunning." Blackwood's jaw tightened. "You've no proof, Poirot. I rigged the wire for a prank, nothing more." Poirot's mustache twitched. "Non, docteur. The evidence accuses you." He held up the vial as a sedative. It was nightshade, administered to kill. Evelyn's rosary fell, her voice a sob. "I didn't know. Theodore said it would calm Aristide, make him rest. I wanted him to change the will, not die." Her tears seemed genuine, but Poirot's eyes narrowed, probing for deception. Voss cried out, "Theodore, you lied to me. You said we'd be free, but not like this." Her hands trembled, her loyalty shattered. Hargrove growled, "A bloody mess, all of it. I wanted my money, not his life. That ledger proved his fraud. Someone stole it to frame me." Poirot raised a hand, silencing them. "Let us reconstruct. Dr. Blackwood, desperate to escape Beaumont's blackmail, devised a plan. He rigged the mask's wire for shocks, amplifying it to terrify. He provided Madame Beaumont with nightshade, disguised as a sedative, knowing her desperation for the inheritance. He used the secret passage to enter the study, ensuring the tea was poisoned. The scream? Beaumont's realization of betrayal as the shocks and poison struck. He paced, weaving the clues. The red herrings. Madame Beaumont's notes, written to scare her husband, fueled the curse myth. Mademoiselle Voss's scarlet thread, planted to deflect suspicion, protected her lover, briefly. Monsieur Hargrove's muddy boots and stolen ledgers suggested guilt, but you were a pawn, your feud a distraction. Blackwood sneered, his calm fracturing. Aristide was a tyrant, hoarding wealth, blackmailing me. He deserved it. Poirot's voice was cold. You manipulated all. Evelyn's greed, Voss's love, Hargrove's anger. The passage was your path, the nightshade your blade, the shocks your mask of a curse. He produced the hidden letter from Beaumont's desk. The doctor's hand is poison. In Beaumont's script, it sealed Blackwood's guilt.
The gardener's testimony, Blackwood near the passage with a vial, confirmed his actions. The prescription book with nightshade entries was damning.
Privately. Mademoiselle, did you write this to protect your lover, even now? She shook her head, tears falling. No, sir. I wrote nothing. I only loved him. Her sincerity rang true, and Poirot dismissed her, the note a final red herring. In the study, he inspected the mask's case one last time. A hidden compartment revealed a scrap of paper. Trust no one. In Beaumont's hand, written days before his death. The man had sensed his doom, but not its source. As Poirot prepared to depart, the manor stood silent, its shadows retreating. The fog lifted, revealing the moors in stark clarity. Evelyn, freed but burdened, would rebuild. Hargrove, cleared, planned to sue the estate. Voss, heartbroken, sought a new path. Blackwood faced justice, his betrayal exposed. Poirot boarded the train back to London, the mask's image fading from his mind. "The human heart," he murmured to Jap, "is the true mystery. But order and method prevail." The train's whistle echoed, a final note of closure, as Beaumont Manor vanished into the mist, its secrets laid bare by the triumph of the gray cells.